Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Anoka said, praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, the Erkadeshoe. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe, in the name of his only begotten Son, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting topic. I've just been jumping around, trying to look for a solid idea to latch onto because, a lot of this stuff is really unfinished. A lot of this is theory, and I just don't want to always put together theoretical videos. I want to give you something solid to go after. But then I realized that there's really nothing solid out here. Everything truly is theoretical, and anyone who thinks that they have the truth, they're more or less lying to you. All everyone has is a good or bad argument. So I had to swallow my pride there and just decide to release some of this information. There is a lot of drop that I hope to bestow to you guys. But without further ado, I just want to, just to read a few things. We're going to read actually a lot of this, actually. This is from the Celts in America, I believe, the book that I made a PDF of about the other day. I don't remember when. But we're going to read out of this. Usually this book is incredibly full of hijacks and still is, but this chapter was very good. So I want to read this chapter. I think it's about like 5 or 6 pages. So let's start. What ended the civilization in the Pacific and the civilization of Atlantis? Now, archaeological evidence of a pole shift. Avesta scriptures of the Aryans describe the migration of the Aryans from their sinking island in the Pacific to Siberia. Siberia had subtropical climate when they moved to live there, but after a while, a shift of the poles turned their gardens of delight into frost and snowfield. Their subtropical country, Aryana Vajeho, turned into Siberia, which became a symbol of cold. Dating of the glaciers tells us that about 12,000 years ago, a destroying frost descended with horrifying speed upon Siberia and has never relaxed its grip. A land which had previously enjoyed 7 months of summer was converted almost overnight into a land of ice and snow with 10 months of harsh and frozen winter. The frost and death came so quickly that the stomachs of the frozen mammoths still had fresh greens undigested, such as buttercups, tender sedges, wild beans, etc. Interdispersed in the muck depths, and sometimes through the very piles of bones and tusks themselves, are layers of volcanic ash. There is no doubt that coincidental with the extinctions, there were volcanic eruptions of tremendous proportions. Why would a flipping of the poles induce such tremendous volcanic activity? See that? So there was volcanoes in Siberia, straight up, as well as green grassland, and things of that sort. And it happened very quickly, as it seems, like very quickly. Changes caused by a pole shift at a 60-degree angle. Our Earth is a spinning sphere, okay, pressed at poles with a bulge at the equator, which is true, there is a bulge at the equator. We're going to get into, at least my theory on that Equatorial Bulge. It has a very thin crust and a hot liquid magma underneath, which we see at volcanic eruptions. Try to imagine what would happen to the Earth if its poles shifted at a 60-degree angle. This is something that happens before each big ice age, and we're gonna have to go into like another video for the ice age. The Earth needs to reshape and become flattened at the new poles, which are now the new axis of spinning. Since the Earth is like a melon, okay, let's skip this part. I don't need to hear that ball Earth stuff. Let me see. Volcanoes inject into the air an enormous amount of ash, which cuts off the light of the sun. Once deprived of the warmth of the sun, the Earth becomes frozen very fast. This is how the last big ice age started, which ended with the big flood of Noah. See? So we know that the flood of Noah, it happened during the time of the Great Conjunction. And if you guys didn't know, the poles are shifting again. Why? Because the Earth is about to change. How it's going to change, I'm not too sure. But the Earth's about to change. And a lot of lands are about to become very icy very quickly. South American sources claim that after the last flipping of the poles, the Earth became frostbound in 2 to 3 days. Wow. 2 to 3 days of darkness. See that? The scriptures was talking about a pole shift when it was talking about the 2 to 3 days of darkness. How the sun would go out. What was it really talking about? Earthquakes. It was talking about a pole shift. According to the study of the glaciers, during the Big Ice Age, the ice cap of the northern pole was so huge that it covered Virginia and northern Kentucky. Yeah, and I looked into that, and it might be actually pretty true. And it makes me question, where in the heck was our land? But not really, because you guys know where I think our land is. When the Big Ice Age ended, the fast melting of the polar cap decreased the ice pressure over the pole, but increased the pressure on the ocean bottoms because the level of the oceans increased. The spinning of the Earth makes the continents drift apart. The drifting makes the bottom at the middle of the ocean to become a tender spot. It is called by the geologists ocean floor transform fault. During fast ice melting, when the ocean water increases, this weak spot cracks, which causes sinking of islands in the middle of the ocean. This was what sank Mu, located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean when the pole shifted at 60 degrees 35,000 years ago. This was what sank Atlantis, located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean at the next pole shift at 60 degrees 9,500 years ago. Example, one cycle of precession later. However, the Dead Sea Scrolls describe underground water rushing to the Earth's surface during Noah's flood. Probably when the transform faults give way, the balance underground water or groundwater was destroyed, which made underground water to rush to the surface. All this made the big flood much more devastating. What did cause the pole shift? The pole shift are usually caused by strong gravitational disturbance. It can be an alignment of planets. See that? Wow. Alignment of heavy stars, alignment of cores of galaxies, or combination of these factors. Polynesian cosmologists cosmologic myth from Hawaii says that the encounter of the dark veil of the Pleiades or Makali caused the pole shifts in the past. Wow. But I thought the Polynesians were so recent of a people. Why do you care about what they have to say? Maybe they're not as recent as people think they are. Now turns the swinging of time over the burnt out world. Back goes the turning of things upward again, as yet sunless, the time of shrouded light, unsteady as in dim moon shiver, from out Makali's night dark veil of cloud, thrills, shadow-like, the prefiguration of the world to be. According to the myth, the dark night veil of cloud of the Malaki of the Pleiades caused the swinging of time. This is the overturning of time and space. In the terminology of the Incas, when dark matter is reached, this is when the sun dies. It happens during the prefigurations of the world to be. Wow. Hey, Revelations is not playing any games. You're about to see it. We're getting very close to that time. We're getting very close to that time. The next pole shift, the next ice age. Intriguing hypothesis. Flipping of the poles at 60 degrees causes the big ice ages. Melting of the big ice causes the big floods. During the big flood 35,000 years ago, islands sank in the Pacific, forcing the Ohums to migrate. During Noah's flood, islands sank in the Pacific and the Atlantic 9,500 years ago. Thus, flipping of the poles at 60 degrees had dramatic influence on the Earth, its climate, and the species living on Earth. Not only did Siberia remain frozen after the last flipping of the poles, Greenland and Antarctica did too. See, Antarctica is recent, Greenland is recent. They were not always like that. In the year 2001, there was an interesting article on the internet about Antarctica by Richard Hoagland and Michael Barra from Boston University. They reported that in the 1970s, via airborne radar surveys, the Russians discovered that their polar station Vostok. See, I made a whole video, and I thought that was actually the Red Sea. See, I made that video, and it had to have been for a reason, man, because that was just a full-on guess. But a lot of my stuff are full-on guesses. Was built on top of a large subglacial lake lying under more than 2 miles of solid ice. It's a huge lake. It's probably bigger than that. Further orbital radar mapping combined with seismic measurements confirmed Lake Vostok was the largest lake discovered in the last 100 years. It is roughly the size of Lake Ontario. Wow, man. With about 4 times the volume, for it is much deeper, reaching in some places more than 3,000 feet. What did the Bible call the Red Sea? The Great Depths, right? It's the Great Depths. It's very deep. Why am I messing up this word? The geologist said that the lake, which is still liquid and not frozen, has been underneath the sheet since anywhere from 13,000 to 14 million years ago. What kind of accuracy is this? Yeah, that's crazy. Tropical fossil plants were discovered on the South Pole by geologists. This means that Antarctica was probably an island in the tropical or subtropical area. Probably it became a polar region after the last flipping of the poles at 60 degrees 12,000 years ago, which rendered Siberia frozen. The geologists assumed that this land had been systematically drifting from north to south for millions of years with Earth spinning. However, they wouldn't consider flipping the poles as a possible cause of drastic changes in the climate. Yeah, they found the same sort of roots that you'd find in a hot Amazonic forest. So there's no way in hell that happened periodically. That had to have happened all at once. And remember, Antarctica was not shown as being frozen up until the 1600s. What happened in the 1600s? Our takedown. Our complete takedown, I should say. Let's skip down. Because we already went over this, that we already know Antarctica was not frozen before. Let's go down here. 3 Russian scientists who claimed they detected a region of strong magnetic anomaly, we're going to go over that, with something like dunes or pyramids on it, have died on Antarctica in the last few years. There are speculations they might have fallen victim to the microbial core samples they investigated. Since pyramids were always built over places of strong magnetic anomaly, it is possible that the dunes over the magnetic anomaly are actually pyramids. This raises serious questions about the origin of Antarctica. I told you guys, Antarctica was ancient Egypt. Australia was ancient Egypt. A lot of land has been sunken, so you guys are looking all over the place for these lands. These lands have been sunken. You're not going to find them. Now, I don't think our Holy Land is sunken. I don't think all of our Holy Land is sunken. I think Jerusalem is still where it's always been. In early 2001, scientists of Columbia University, New York, began a series of low-altitude aerial surveys over Lake Vostok. They were designed to chart gravitational, magnetic, and thermal activity under the ice. In the course of doing so, they found huge magnetic anomaly in the southeastern end of the lake, where the base Vostok is. The geologists are not sure was the underglacial lake in Antarctica formed in that period of time just as shanky as their dating of Antarctica as a South Pole continent. Drifting of Antarctica so far south in the last 13,000 years does not seem probable. Let's move down. I guess he's going to speak about it. However, the last pole shift at 60 degrees 12,000 years ago could have left Antarctica frozen to this day, as well as Siberia and Greenland. The pole flipping was followed by the last big ice age, whose ice melting led to the big flood during Noah's time. Alright, so he goes into Perry Reese map. Went over that already. I don't want to go over things so many times. The Avesta scriptures of the Aryans claim that after the last pole shift at 60 degrees, which left Siberia frozen, the frost came very rapidly. The archaeological findings of mammoths in Siberia, fresh greens, we already went over that. I don't know why he's repeating it. If Antarctica was the Atlantean island, Dacia, and the frost came very fast, maybe the aircraft of Atlantis still lies down under the ice waiting to be discovered. Finding pyramids, cities, and the air and water crafts of Atlantis on the South Pole under the ice will be even more exciting than seeing the pyramid-looking images which Viking 1 and 2 sent from Mars. Okay, it's white people humor. Pyramids were built by the giants and their man followers. Who could have built the pyramids on Antarctica? Was Antarctica one of the islands of Atlantis, and was also Greenland one of the islands of Atlantis? Maybe soon we'll find out. Because of global warming, the glaciers are melting fast. They probably became icebound after the pole shifts at 60 degrees that amount of years ago. Antarctica was in subtropical area before this, as the found fossils show. Okay, now this is what I wanted to get to. This is incredibly important. Where was the northern pole before the last flipping of the poles at 60 degrees? If Antarctica was subtropical before the flipping, Greenland was green, Canada and Alaska were not frozen, and the northern pole was 60 degrees from the present northern pole. The old northern pole must have been the Himalayas area. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness, bro. Ancient texts of India, such as, I'm not reading that, claim that the Mount Meru in India was the northern pole. Indeed, at the 60th parallel from the northern pole, there is a city, Meerut, between New Delhi, India, and Nepal. This is where Mount Meru is. I think it was probably in Kumari Kingdom, or what people say Lumeria, in that land underneath India. But it could be literally in India. I don't know. It would make sense if it was in India, honestly. I don't see Mount Meru being anywhere other than Kumari Kingdom, or Australia. So it had to be somewhere in the Pacific. Talking about Mount Ararat, that's what Mount Meru is, by the way. The legends of Mount Meru are literally the exact same thing as Mount Ararat. If Mount Meru in northeast India was the northern pole before the last flipping of the poles at 60 degrees 12,000 years ago, now listen to this, then the continent of South America would be the antipode of Meru. Is this where the name America came? Meru? So let's keep reading. Then Antarctica would have been in a subtropical area between the Pacific, Indian, and Atlantic Oceans. If so, it remains an open question where the pyramids of Antarctica built by the Polynesian civilization of Mu that preceded that of the Atlantis, or by the Atlanteans, were they built to moderate the release of energy from the earth during the cataclysms? The pyramids on Antarctica as the pyramids in any other place on earth were probably built by the giants who were the sons of earthly women fathered by the Nephilim, the fallen ones. I wish the stones could speak and not just tell their and I wish the stones could speak and tell their stories. I'm sure they speak. We just don't understand their language yet. It's true. Hey, you're right about that. Once more, if Mount Meru in India was the North Pole before the last flipping of the poles at 60 degrees 12,000 years ago, then the antipode of Meru was South America. Meru. Then the name America means antipode of Meru. So that area with India, the Himalayas mountains, that's one of the poles. The other pole is in South America. Where's the center of the earth, man? Well, we're gonna find out, man. So I had to read all that so we can get to this. True polar shift, wandering magnetic pole could point to unsettled earth core. Now, I believe that everything is about to shift to Siberia as it seems. It said it in a few articles that, sorry, blanking out, that the poles are shifting. That's why do you think it's getting so cold all of a sudden, especially here in the Northeast? It's getting incredibly cold. It's getting crazy cold, bro. Let me see, it's not loud. No, it's not. What I want to show you. So, did you know that the magnetic North Pole and the geographic North Pole are not necessarily the same thing? It's actually flipped. No, this is not even the article I want to read. But anyway, let's go to this one. There are many quantifiable scientific indicators proving that the Earth and the solar system are going through changes which have never previously occurred in recorded human history. Okay, well, anyway, precept upon precept. The other person said there has been pole shifts before. This person says that there haven't been. Okay. Many psychics and channelers say that we have entered the beginning of the dimensional shift, which is already deeply affecting all of our lives. And some predict that within the next that within the next decade, we will enter into an ascension process fulfilling the prophecies of Jesus. Now, the reason why I'm going to this, because I was going to leave this in the description. I'm not literally going to read this whole thing. But this person makes a lot of good points. Let me read this, though. We have been expecting a singular being called Christ to come and save us. Well, guess what? We are honored to witness the second coming. It was a psychic event heralded by announcements from heaven. The announcements came in the form of unprecedented christened energies which came pouring forth through visible solar flares emanating from our physical sun, and in the form of a rare Star of David astrological alignment, which is very true. A lot of this stuff has come in part, and people who are waiting for Hamashiach to come back. I mean, you're really not paying attention. You're kind of missing the ship. You're missing the boat. I'm gonna leave this link in the description. What is a pole shift? A geographic pole shift is the sudden shifting of the Earth's crust. According to their math, over the Earth's core. Imagine being able to rotate just as the skin of an orange over the orange itself. This is different from the geomatic reversal or the periodic reversal of the Earth's magnetic field, where the north and south magnetic poles switch. The geographic pole shift would occur over a matter of days or even just hours. What? See? Days, hours, 3 days of darkness. It's all coming very fast. When it happens, it's gonna happen, causing immense catastrophe to the surface of the earth. Land masses and oceans would be displaced. The polar regions of the world would change locations, as with the equator. Earthquakes would shake the entire planet, and volcanoes would erupt around the globe, causing general devastation to our world. New landforms and oceans would spring up, replacing old ones. Wow. And weather patterns would change. There is evidence throughout the planet of just such an event taking place in Earth's past, if one knows where to look. And he's trying to sell his book. Well, I ain't buying your book, bro. I'm just keeping it. A bean. But actually, I did buy his book, but I brought it for free. I got it for free. These articles just go into things I don't want to get into. I'm not trying to, bore anyone with this stuff. So, again, link in the description. You could just look on Google, like the poles shifting to Siberia, or where are they shifting, right? Now, I wanted to go over this concept of what is it called again? The prime meridian, because they're always, every time, have you noticed that all the maps look like this? They always are Africa centered. Why is that? Why do they always put the center of the earth here? This is the zero longitude line. Have you ever questioned why they would put it here? Why didn't they put it somewhere else? Why did they choose this place? Why not somewhere over here? I mean, why not here? Why do they put it in between these two places? Or really just somewhere obscure? Why would they do that? Well, let's get into it. Again, they put the zero right here, and everything else, it comes from here. This place right here. This is supposedly the center of the earth, according to modern day map makers. But that's not what the earth says. The earth does not put the center here. Now let's read the prime meridian. We're about to learn some stuff, man. Wait, hold up. Alright, let's just read this. A prime meridian is the meridian or a line of longitude in a geographic coordinate system at which longitude is defined to be zero. Together, a prime meridian and its anti-meridian, or the 180th meridian of a 360 system, form a great circle. See, all this stuff is based on a circle, all this nonsense, this circle nonsense. This is where they get this latitude and longitude stuff from, because they're assuming that this is a circle, right? This great circle divides a spheroid of two hemispheres. If one uses directions of east and west from a defined prime meridian, they can be called the eastern and western hemispheres, so even that's fabricated. Now listen to this. A prime meridian for a body not tidally locked, or at least not synchronous, is ultimately arbitrary. This is completely made up. This is BS. This is made up. Unlike an equator, which is determined by the axis of rotation, for celestial objects that are tidally locked, more specifically synchronous. However, their prime meridians are determined by the face always inward of the orbit, a planet facing its star or the moon facing its planet, just as equators are determined by rotation. So there you go. The prime meridian is not real. The prime meridian is made up. And who is it made up by? It's made up by map makers who put it there. They're the ones who put it there. The old map makers, they put it there. They put their prime meridian wherever they wanted to, actually. It all depended on their view. They just put it any damn where. So this is not this is a deception. This is not based on anything, right? This northern and this western and eastern hemisphere is not based on anything. Now this is I guess when the Earth gets closer to the sky. But I have a different theory on that. While I do agree that the Earth or the lands are closer in this part of the world, there's something very different about the Americas, specifically this region of South America close to the equator. There's something different about that land. Now we went over Cusco, right? And what it means, and how one of its nicknames is El Omilio. I'm sorry, Obiligo del Mundo, or the navel of the world. And the word Cusco in Quechua means center or navel, right? It means, just remember that, it means center or navel. We went over this. Cusco. Now, the vortexes, there are vortexes all over the place, man. Right? We know this. They go along, I believe, the line of Capricorn, or is it what is it called? I don't know. But there are two. There are Capricorn and Cancer, I believe. But you have different vortexes that go along these lines. It's almost in a triangle, right? It's all over the world. But in between the three vortexes, there has to be some sort of places that are located here, right? So that would mean that a place that's in between these three vortexes must be of some sort of significance. And guess what's here in between? This map is not really scaled too well, but in this place, I'm going to show you. And this place is 35 right here. So you have 18, 47, 49. Right here, you have a place. What is this place called? Look, vortex, vortex, vortex. Right here. That's in Cusco. That's in Peru. Some people say it's Lake Titicaca. Some people say it's the Nazca Line. Some say it's Machu Picchu. Well, it's in that area. So this must be a very significant place. That's my point. And there's another thing. Have you noticed something? They're centering this here too. Why? Because they've been hijacked when they're making an assumption that this is the center. This is the prime meridian, right? When in actuality, could this be the prime meridian? I'm going to show you. Now this seems to be very important. I believe that something about Rio de Janeiro is very important. Our land in Brazil is incredibly significant. There's also something here in the middle of the Amazon, but we'll never know until the Most High reveals it, because they can't really go here. But I can tell that our land is very significant here. Is something else I was looking at. Again, they're assuming that the center is here somewhere. Now, if you flip this and make it over here, how different would it look? You know? There's not much that really happened here, but most of the stuff happened in the Americas and in the Pacifics. So wouldn't you make this the center? I'm just saying, man. But they're making a lot of assumptions. Now we're going to go over the South Atlantic Anomaly. I'm moving pretty fast, so you might need to watch or, rewind. Something unusual is happening with our planet's magnetic field. For the past 160 years, it's been weakening at an alarming rate. Scientists are concerned that one day, our magnetic poles could flip like they did this amount of years ago. When that happens, we lose a vital force field that keeps radiation from the sun and space at bay. It'll also scorch the technology our society depends on. Oh, boo-hoo. There's one spot in particular scientists are most worried about. It is known as the South Atlantic Anomaly, which stretches from Chile to Zimbabwe, where the field is at its weakest. Right now, it's hazardous for any satellites traveling through the zone because they're exposed to high levels of radiation. Now, how in the world is the center of the world anywhere else other than this place right here? This is the homeland. South America is the homeland, bro. I've been saying that, and hopefully I can show. That isn't to say we don't have lands anywhere else. Absolutely. I believe that part of the lands we were given were in the west coast of the Americas. Some of the lands in Central America. I believe that, Samaria was here. Samaria, meaning the land of Ephraim, was in northern Mexico. Some of the lands are also in the Caribbean, Yucatan Peninsula, things of that sort, right? But I'm saying that I believe we truly originate here. Let me see. Scientists think the South Atlantic anomaly could be ground zero for the flipping of the magnetic poles. How is it? Wait, ground zero? What? Ground zero? Ground zero, bro. For it to be ground zero, wouldn't it have to be the center? I'm just saying, wouldn't it have to be the center? Why would it be here? Shouldn't it be focused right here if this is the center? What about here in Jerusalem? Quote unquote Jerusalem. John Tarduno, a geophysicist from the University of Rochester, wanted to put the present anomaly into a historical context. To do that, he got some help from the archaeologists and some funding from the National Science Foundation to dig up some archaeological data in southern Africa. What we found working with archaeologists is kind of a unique record, he said. The Bantu people who currently live there, they were the first people practicing agriculture. So at times of drought, you can imagine it was quite stressful on the population. And they practiced, according to the archaeologists, a type of ritualistic burning. They would actually burn down their villages and then start anew. That's interesting. Probably some Israelite connections there in some sort of way. Many of those structures were made of clay, and when clay burns and then cools, the magnetic minerals in it lock in the magnetic field properties at the time. These burned down structures ended up being like time capsule compass needles, using this to lock and back into the okay. We think we see several episodes that are similar to what is happening today. That is the magnetic field is operating abnormally as viewed out of Africa. If we look at our best numerical simulations of a magnetic field reversal, this is the type of pattern we see right before a reversal. We don't know if the current anomaly will lead to a full reversal. If the anomaly continues to grow, the patch in the outer core of Africa could be the trigger to a full pole reversal. The poles, man, the poles are about to flip, bro. The South Atlantic anomaly is an area where Earth's inner Van Allen radiation belt comes closest to the Earth's surface, dipping down to an altitude of 200 kilometers. This leads to an increased flux of genetic particles in this region and exposes orbiting satellites to higher than usual levels of radiation. The effect is caused by the non-concentricity of Earth and its magnetic dipole. The SAA is the near-Earth region where the Earth's magnetic field is weakest relative to an idealized Earth-centered dipole field. See, What are they trying to say, man? They're trying to say that this is some sort of origin. This is where it's weakest. So this must be some sort of pole. South America is some sort of pole. It's a magnetic pole. It's not what they're saying is the North Pole or the South Pole or things of that sort. But they're saying that this must be some sort of original pole. That's at least, I'm saying that, excuse me. I'm saying that. Now, let's read this. Vertical intensity from the World Magnetic Model. Red equals positive, blue equals negative, and green equals 0. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but the 0 point is literally on Cusco. It's going through the upper Amazon, upper Brazil, around Guyana, I believe. I think that's Guyana, or Suriname, one of the two. But it ends here at Peru, right? This is a magnetic map. Now let's look at this. You can't deny this one, bro. Now they're saying that this is the latitude and longitude, but what is this saying? What is this map saying? That it's actually here. And this is literally in Tawantinsuyo, or the realm of the four parts. Cusco, the city of David, is here. This is the cross. This is the the crossways. This is the ancient land of Adam and Eve, bro. This is the Garden of Eden. And I was gonna release a video on that, but I didn't. Again, a lot of my stuff I can't really say too conclusively, but I'm starting to believe that South America are truly our old lands, like in more ways than one. North America are our promised lands, but these are our old lands, bro. I'm really starting to believe that. Again, it's right here, center of the world, Cusco. Oh, and this is what I was talking about with the Equatorial Bulge. As you can see here, as well as here, this goes in a relatively straight line until it gets down to South America. Then everything's pushed down. Then it's almost like the equator is not the same, but it dips back up and is back to normal over here. So this must mean that there's something here in these lands that are much more significant than the rest of these lands that's making this dip. But is this dipping because these lands are truly the ones that are closest to the sky and not just anything near the equator? And it's actually these lands here that are the closest to the sky. If it's closest to the sky, then the altitude is higher. When quote unquote Adam and Eve came down from the garden, they came down from some sort of place that was high up. What other place is higher up than this place? An equatorial bulge is the difference between the equatorial and polar diameters of a planet due to the centrifugal force exerted by the rotation about the Earth's body's this stuff is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. A rotating body tends to form an oblate spheroid rather than a sphere. Okay, and it can. I'm not saying that this land isn't closer or this land isn't bulging up, but out of all of this bulging land, what land is bulging even more? So if rivers are actually running out of this place, it would make sense why they were flowing everywhere else, wouldn't it? Another map. Another one. No Khaled, bro. Another one. And there's something about South Africa as well. Hey, something about this land too. I am biased. Something about this. Well, I am biased. Who wasn't biased? But something about this land too. Absolutely. But we can see that this land must be different. Everything's normal here until you reach the Americas, and then everything starts to get crazy. me see. Let me share that. No, I don't need to go to there. Van Allen belt. I don't think I need to discuss that. Scientists track back strange behavior in South Atlantic magnetic field, uh, 11 million years ago. In case this was on your 2020 list of worries, the Earth's magnetic field is not about to reverse itself. Strange behavior in the South Atlantic magnetic field can be traced back as far as 11 million years ago, and it's unlikely to be linked to any impending reversal of Earth's magnetic field. Okay. So, again, when you have when you have people who are telling you, "Hey, you should run," you have other people saying, "No, no, it's okay." But if it happens, who are they gonna say my bad? No, they don't give a damn about anyone. Come on now. Let me see if there's really anything else I need to go over. See, but look, for every article it's saying don't worry about it. There's another one that's saying that the magnetic field is growing and is about to split in two. And where is it happening? Where is it starting off? In South America. Let's look into this a little bit. If this ever loads. Alright, let me see where I wanted to read from. Now, this is interesting. According to mystic clairvoyant, author, and scholar Rudolf Steiner, okay, who broke with the Theosophical Society and founded the Waldorf Schools and Biodynamic Agriculture, the Lemurian Society existed prior to Atlantis and existed in South Asia and Africa, extending from Ceylon to Madagascar. That's Komori Kingdom. According to Steiner, the Lemurians derived immense powers of will and strength from a direct connection to the energy bodies of planets and animals around them. The Lemurian was, says Steiner, a born magician in all fields of lower human activities. Steiner discusses the Lemurian civilization extensively in his book, Cosmic Memory, and in many other publications and lectures. I believe that this was what really occurred when the Motsah said he was going to split Solomon's kingdom. And that's when I think he sunk this land. That's just my that's me making a proclamation. But just from what I studied and like a lot of the I haven't gone. I'm not even gonna touch on it because I haven't gone over it yet. So I just believe that Solomon was in this sunken land. He was like that's just what it seems like. According to Steiner, Lemurian institutions of higher learning focus on teaching initiates, secret techniques, enabling them to control the forces of nature by direct contemplation. What does that sound like? Sounds like Druid teachings, right? We went over the connection with, the Levites and the tribe of Judah, with the Hindus and things of that sort. That's what I mean. I think this stuff was not all that far away ago. I think this stuff was very recent. And I think a lot of these lands were our lands, and the Most High was periodically sinking them pretty much. You see people all over the world who have so-called Lemurian knowledge. They even call the Native Americans children of Lemuria, right? The Hopi said that they came out of the ground. They escaped this destruction of Lemuria or one of our lands from underground. And they called it the Third World. They arrived at the Fourth World or Atlantis or North America. Steiner said that these Lemurian mystery schools stood far above what mankind has since acquired in the way of arts and sciences. He called them colleges of willpower and of the clairvoyant power of the imagination. From them emerged men who became, in every respect, rulers of the others. Steiner, see, that sounds like Solomon's reign. That's what I mean, bro. Steiner says that life on Earth was vastly different then. The air was much thicker, the water much thinner, the ground was thin and broken apart continually by the action of convulsive volcanic forces. The Earth in this period was shaped like the primal element of fire. What we know as small ferns existed as giants of the plant world. I'm sorry, I was tripping. I was like, wait. Existed as giants of the plant world. Only amphibians, birds, and lower animals existed. The vast majority of humanity lived in a very primitive life, which can only be described as animalistic in nature. Is he talking about your people, Mr. Steiner? Because I don't know what you mean. Yet for those in the Lemurian mystery schools, life was exalted above what we know today. Okay, that's what he meant. So, okay, he knows. And we already know what the Lemurians look like, by the way. No, they were not white gods. The uninitiated, of course, stood under the magical influence of the initiated, says Steiner. It was also natural that the later considered themselves sacrificed personages. They looked into the creative workshop of nature. They experienced a communion with the beings who built the world itself. They can call this communion as an association with gods. Steiner says that in the later periods of the more highly developed Lemurian civilization, the role of female initiates was paramount, and that these female initiates were responsible for planting the seeds of knowledge of good and evil in the souls of mankind, as well as for developing the first human awareness of beauty and for cultivating the first human language, a kind of song. Wow, a song. See, a lot of this stuff, it really does sound like what is like almost the stuff in the books of remembrance, in a way. It's very, very interesting. This all subsequent human civilization owes a huge debt on the gratitude to the Lemurian priestesses who carried the first mystery schools teaching enlightenment through direct experience of nature, the first human system of ethnics, the first art and highly developed system of uh, aesthetics, and the first prototypical human language. Over the last 30 years, rockhounds, mediators, and crystal healers have discovered a unique variety of quartz crystal found only in one remote region of Brazil, which are said to resonate with the energy signature of the ancient Lemurian society. Wow. And which are highly prized for their unique metaphysical properties. Given this description of the ancient Lemurian civilization, it is not at all surprising that crystal healers and light workers from the 90s to the present have consistently described the energy of the Lemurian crystals, sea crystals, as warm, nurturing, feminine, healing, and closely connected to the source of Shakti, the weaver of the web of life on earth, the Divine Mother. All Lemurians have a powerful and unique energy signature. So, I'm going to leave this in the description. You guys can check this out. Very powerful stuff, man. Now you can see all the different crystals, the Atlantean crystals, and as the person said, the Atlanteans got their knowledge from the Lemurians, right? The Lemurians were the mother culture of the Atlanteans. And Lemuria or Kumari Canum, that's probably where the land of Shinar or quote unquote Mesopotamia was. Atlantean seed crystals, you have these, right? So we used crystals and things, man. Oh man, stuff is crazy. It's really cool. Let me see where I wanted to go to. All right, let's read from here. And so we bring new information on the emerging mega vortex of Arkansas, the portal of the quantum crystalline frequency. For now, in 2011, this vortex truly nears final completion and vaults into greater global prominence. Within the 2011-2012 completion are the further unfolding of the dimensional lock that held the master temple crystals. For within these living crystalline computers lies the true Atlantean wisdom, that of the golden age of Atlantis, that of the law of one. It was and is to date the highest frequency obtained on your planet, your Earth plane. Much has been forgotten of the true realm of Atlantis. Many tend to remember only the sad demise under the Aryan influence of greed and lust for power. We tell you it is time to remember the law of one, the golden age of Poseda. For within that golden age existed a very spiritual matriarchal society, which achieved a harmonic state of divine balance, the highest frequency ever achieved upon the earth plane in what is termed the golden age of Atlantis. Matriarchies go literally against what the Most High set up. So if that's what you guys are into, go ahead. But I ain't into no damn matriarchies, you crazy. I'm into the man supporting the woman, and that's it. Like, I don't know. Book of Remembrance says that the Most High did not make men to support women. He made women to support men. Literally, men cannot support women. They're not able to do it. It's only one way. Like, that's pathetic. Y'all are some simps. You guys want to support people you're not supposed to. You don't want people in their roles. Indeed, that time has come for the law of one was and is the once and future society of the power of love, not the love of power. Oh, I like that. The power of love, not the love of power. I feel that. And that isn't to say that we need to adopt a more effeminate view. We absolutely do, but that's not a matriarchy. It's not the same thing as a matriarchy. You know, not the same thing at all. Let me see. I don't think I need to be here. Again, link in the description. I'm leaving all the important links in the description. The Ark of the Law of One. The areas currently termed as Arkansas and Brazil were colonies of the once Poseidon Law of One. They were specifically chosen because these two regions contain the planet's largest mineral deposits of quartz and crystal strata. Hyperdimensional tunnels were constructed with the Syrian Pleiadian alliance from Poseida to Arkansas and Brazil for the maintenance of the massive crystal beds there. Because of its radium waters, natural caves, and magnetic lodestone, Arkansas was chosen as an area to program fast growth processes within its caverns. Many savants of the spiritual science priests, the Alta Ra Law of One, worked within these caverns to imbue specific patterns into the crystals. 3 Atlantean wisdom and healing crystals that once beamed magnificent light and celestial energy in the Temple of Healing. The Temple of One and the Temple of Knowledge on Poseida were placed in dimensional lock in the Atlantean crystal fields of Arkansas. Indeed, these now energized golden sun discs placed in Arkansas and aligned with the 12 patterns of the same throughout the planet, and with the paradigm of the 12 crystal skulls informing the sacred 13 pattern. And let's go to that picture real quick. So these are all the sun disc locations. And see, you have this place in Brazil, you have Lake Titicaca, Machu Picchu, whatever you want to call it. No, Jerusalem, because that's really what it is. Interesting. I like these two places. Very interesting. I really wonder what they are. We're gonna get to that part in Brazil though, but I want to finish this. All right. Let me see how long this video is going on for. An hour. Oh my goodness, I need to stop doing this. I'm gonna tire myself out again. Alright. The biological affiliations between the Deccan and Madagascar are alleged to have evolved a sunken Lumeria are famous. We refer to the reader to our figure 1, a dry land connection between the Indian Peninsula and southern Africa via Madagascar is an inescapable feature of the Permian and Triassic periods of zoogeographical grounds. This is because in Gondwana, faunas of the East Indies, European terrestrial vertebrates are mixed with such as were indigenous to southern Africa. Further, the settling of Titanosaurus and a relative of Megalosaurus in Madagascar during the Upper Cretaceous must have taken place by the way of India, since the Mozambique Channel had been formed earlier during the Lycaic, not before the most recent period of the Cretaceous. Could the narrow, elongated island, whose ends must be sought in the Deccan and on Madagascar, have descended into the depths completely, the central section included, so that the Ethiopian Mediterranean Sea of Numar till the dependency of the the Tethys, the Tethys, thus forward was joined by a wide and obscured stretch of water with the Indian Ocean. Instead of the subsidence to more than 4-kilometer depth as assumed by Dinner, which is impossible isostatistically over such an area, we believe that this bridge was compressed to form upland Asia. The zoogeographical difference consists in the fact that then, before the separation, the Deccan was directly alongside Madagascar. Stuff is just boring, bro. Let me skip down, because it's pretty much trying to prove that, Kamari Kingdom, Lemuria was a thing. Yes, it was a thing. Now let's move on. Sani has carried out a superfluous, investigation using the distribution of the polar Glossopteris flora in the region of the ancient Gondwana land in an attempt to examine the superiority of drift theory over the theory of sunken continental bridges. The question must remain undecided, however, because the observational material is still too fragmentary, that the land connection between southern Africa, Madagascar, India, and Australia did in fact exist, is regarded in the paper cited as it is in all publications known to me as a research result established long ago. However, the vast distance which now separates these portions of the globe from each other is quite obviously the case. In my view, the thrift theory offers a much better explanation of the facts observed than does the sunken continent theory, which is geophysically untenable. This is also stretched by many other scientists. Well, it could be both. Some continents could have sunk and some continents could have drifted away. The land fauna of Australia has a very special interest in this respect. Wallace has already detected a clear subdivision of this fauna into 3 elements of differing antiquity, and this result has not been radically changed by the more recent investigations of Headley. For example, the most ancient element, generally encountered in southwestern Australia, shows some interrelationship with the fauna of India and Ceylon in particular, but also with that of Madagascar and southern Africa. So there's a certain animal that is in Madagascar and in southern Africa that is the same animal that is in Australia. How is that possible? And in India. Unless there was land there, right? But wait, there's more. Here, warm-loving animals are representative of the relationship, and so are the earthworms who avoid frozen ground. The correlation dates back to the time when Australia was still joined to India. According to our figure 1, this connection had already been broken by the early Jurassic. The second Australian faunal element is very well known because it includes those peculiar mammals, the marsupials and the monotremes, which are so sharply differentiated from the Sunda Islands fauna, the Wallace limit of the mammals. This element shows points of relationship with South America fauna. Apart from Australia, the Moluccas and various South Sea islands, marsupials now live mainly in South America. One species, opossum, even in North America. North America and European fossil marsupials are known, but no Asian ones have been found. Even the parasites of the Australian and South American marsupials are the same. So Australia and South America had to have been connected, or had to have some sort of land that was connecting the two. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. All this land was connected. North America was connected to South, or it still is. South America connected to Australia through Antarctica, right? I'm not saying this because I want to be right about something. This stuff is studied. You know, it had to have been connected. There's no other way. What, did the goddamn animal take a plane to South America? Like, come on, man. And why would it go so far? Unless all the land was very similar. Unless the climate of the climate of Antarctica had to have been temperate enough for these creatures to make that great trip. Unless that great trip wasn't that much of a trip. See, you really have to think outside the box, bro. The lands did not always look like this. The lands have changed a few times already. While it's considered that the land connection between Australia and South America, if it really existed, was near the southern limits where the climate was cold. No, it was not. The earthworms likewise made no use of this bridge, since the fact points to Antarctica as a bridge, lying as it does on the shortest conjunction path. It should occasion no surprise that the alternative proposal of some isolated authors that the South Pacific Bridge was the limit is almost universally rejected. See, everyone rejects it. Why? Just because they want to. They have no reason. This is the only thing that makes sense, and they reject it. The latter is the shortest link only to Mars-Cator's projection. This second Australian faunal element therefore dates back to the time when Australia was still joined to South America via Antarctica. I ain't reading no more, bro. I ain't reading no more. So now, to close out this video, we're going to get into some very interesting things regarding the church's ley lines. If this ever loads. let's just refresh it real quick. Okay, so it loaded and I refreshed it for no reason. I got a lot of tabs open, so my computer is kind of suffering right now. Alright, so just to speak about it before it loads, as you can see right now, these are a bunch of churches that they built, and I noticed that a lot of these are in a line. First of all, these three are in a line, and these three are in a line. They're in a perfect line, right? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? And by the way, the largest Catholic cathedral, it is not in the Vatican. The largest cathedral is in Brazil. It's right here. It's in this area. I forgot which one it was, but it's in this area. What is taking this so long for this to load? I'm going to show you what I mean. While this is loading, let's go to this. List of tallest church buildings. Well, not tallest, I should say biggest. But this is one of them, Brazil. It's kind of down the list, but it's here, right? So Brazil don't really got tall buildings, but it has really big buildings. Let's look at the largest church buildings. So you have one in Vatican City, right? But it's not a real cathedral. It's a church, but it's not. Well, they call this the largest cathedral in the world. Cathedral Basilica Basilica of the National Shrine of Our Lady Aparecida, Sida, the largest in the world, bro. Why? Why would they build the largest one in Brazil? Why do these people love to bastardize Brazil, South America, Argentina? Why they like South America so much? Why do the Catholics? Why do the the people who came and conquered us? Why do they like South America so much? People focus so much on North America, they're not paying attention to South America. There are so many churches in Brazil. It's not even funny. The biggest church is in Brazil. Outside of the Vatican is in Brazil. So, I found that to be very odd. Let's see if this loaded. No, it did not. Oh, come on, man. I'll just wait. I'll be patient. Okay. So I listed on this map, the different, this is my ley line one. It's not my Holy Land one. This is my ley line one. So they said that Lake Titicaca, oh my goodness, bro. Lake Titicaca is one of the chakra points. See, this is a very important place. It's a chakra point. It's in between three vortexes. It's also the magnetic center of the world, or at least the antipode of the world. This is the place where there is the least amount of no, how should I say it? Does it have the most of the least? I don't know, but either way, it's a pole. It is the magnetic pole of the world. South America. And it's just freezing again. So I'm just stuck here. I'm trying to get through this video. Alright, let's wait for this to load. But yeah, I marked all the places. There's something very special about Peru, about South America, about Rio de Janeiro of Brazil, this area right here. There's something very special about it. They built a huge Christos statue here for whatever reason, right? And I wanted to go through some of these places if it allows me to. You have Christ the Redeemer, their statue. Right, you guys seen it? What else you got? You got the church I just showed you, the largest cathedral in the world. This is just madness. I might have to cut this short because it's freezing. Let me see if I can at least show you what I meant with the lines. But they have the... See, this must be something crazy because they built this stuff right here, and then going on this line, it connects right here, connects right here. That's not by mistake. It's not by mistake at all. Same thing here. This is in a line, even if it's not in a what I think is a line. It's in a line according to our places, because all they do is build on top of our stuff. So even if it's not in what I think is a straight line, it's scaled to some sort of line system. And you have one-offs here. This is the place where they get all of the crystals in this area right here. So that's what I mean. This place must be very important. There's something very special about South America. Earth's magnetic field. Let's see what this has to say. A map of intensity contours called an isodynamic chart. As the world magnetic model shows, the intensity tends to decrease from the poles to the equator. A minimum intensity occurs in the South Atlantic anomaly over South America. But why would it occur there if the poles are, you know, the pole in South America would be in Ecuador. That's what I mean. That little loop, that thing that went down, like, that's weird, bro. Was this this dip that it takes place? It dips underneath. Now it's not all the way down here, but it dips. It takes a dip, right? It's not here, but it does take a dip. So I find that interesting. I find that weird. Over South America, while there are maxima over northern Canada, Siberia, and the coast of Antarctica south of Australia, right? And again, this is their geographic axis of the North and South Pole, but the real North and South Pole is actually something like this. Interesting, right? So this way would actually be north? Is that what it's trying to say? I don't know, man. Again, a lot of stuff is speculation. That's all I had. I don't want my computer to just go out, so I'm gonna end the video. So I hope you guys got something out of this, and let me know what you guys think. May peace be with you. Selah Kolah.